been a long, crazy day, hasn't it? So why do I spend all this time and effort helping to put together the Nomad Summit, to get all of you here, to get everyone watching this on video, all this knowledge? I could honestly make a lot more money just working on my own business in the same amount of hours that I've spent organizing this, getting everything together. But the reason why I do it is so I can get everyone together, because as we all lift up and we all make more money, we can help each other succeed with knowledge, with connections, with skills, with our stories, or even just kind of keeping each other on track. Last year, when I put together the very first summit, people were really just starting out. I mean, I'm sure there's still a lot of people watching this or in the audience that are just starting out. But 1 year ago, the rumor around Chiang Mai was, oh, everybody's, broke, everyone's a backpacker, no one's making any money. And who was the very last speaker we had? Is this guy broke? It is so incredible, the amount of talent that we have in this random little town in the middle of Thailand. And none of this would have been possible if it wasn't for technology of today, wasn't for this beautiful country and fast internet. It wasn't for books like the 4-Hour Work Week that inspired all of this. Which is the big reason why I put together this event, the Nomad Coffee Club, my podcast, the Travel Like a Boss podcast, that is over 100 episodes now, where I've interviewed probably half the speakers and 20 other people in this room to figure out what made you tick? What was your story? And to be honest, part of it's selfish because I want to know myself. I'm actually friends with Sam. We actually live in the same building. But when we hang out, we're just talking about, food or what's going on, little things like that. He doesn't have time to spend an hour showing me PowerPoint, presentations about how he started his business. And it's very easy to see these people on stage or read about them in an article or see them in a magazine and assume there's no way I can start, I cannot get to that point. It is so intimidating to see someone who's already successful when you are just starting out. And I started really late. I was 30 years old before I made any money online. 3 years ago, I was out of money. I could not afford a freaking plane ticket home. And I was going to beg my parents, say, look, I promise you I'll pay you back. Just, help me get this plane ticket home. I'll get a job. I'll live at home for a few months. And I'll do whatever it takes. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to all the naysayers out there. I didn't listen to, my friends back home, or even some of my family that was like, look, you need to get a real job. This traveling thing isn't working out. I told you so. This is stupid. But a part of me, it was a very small part, but part of me was like, I know there's something out there. I've explored the world, scuba diving, I tried Muay Thai, I did all this cool stuff. I know that wasn't for nothing. I know there's more to life than just going back and getting another crappy job in a cubicle, and even just going through the process of interviewing for a job. And standing up here, I'm so happy to say, I will never write another resume or CV ever again. Yeah. Right. I haven't sold a company for $100 million yet, like our previous speaker. I'm not a millionaire yet, but I know 100% that if I continue on this path, I keep learning from all these amazing people in this room that just spoke, that I have access to through their books, through their podcasts, through their blogs. There is no reason why me and every single person in here and watching this could not do the same. But the very first step is to get started. And this is the reason why I wanted to wait to the very last speaker slot. I know you guys had a long day. Some people are tired. Some people have left. I don't care about them. I care about you that want to make it happen. The ones that are like, I have this knowledge now, show me what it takes. What is the freaking first step? What is the fucking first step? And that first step is MVP. But it's actually two parts. All right, everybody knows the first part. All right? Raise your hand if you heard of minimal viable product. All right? And every single person here knows the second part as well. Most valuable player. In today's talk, my goal is to get every single one of you to identify what is the very bare minimum you can do to start a viable business that you can scale up to $100,000, $250,000, maybe even $100 million. And I'm going to give you examples for every single one of your industries, hopefully, as much as time as I have, because I know everyone does something different. So the first example is, let's say you want to put together a conference like the Nomad Summit. Or if you want to put together a yoga retreat or any kind of live in-person event. What do you actually need to put together, to get it started? What is the MVP? You need a room, you need a venue. And it doesn't have to be a big fancy venue like this, with high ceilings and these beautiful lights. It could just be any room. With the Nomad Coffee Club, I literally just drove around at 4 p.m. on a weekday and looked for completely empty cafes, knowing that even if I didn't have a deal with them, even if they didn't officially let me use it, I knew it was going to be empty anyways. We could just show up, buy some coffee, and we can have our first talk. Last year, the very first year of the Nomad Summit, I had no idea if anyone was going to show up. Even giving out free tickets, I was like, please, I hope 40 people will show up. So I booked a venue, the smallest I can book, so I wouldn't lose too much money if no one showed up. And I just had faith. I said, I just need a venue. When I get a venue, then I can announce it. I can get some attendees. So that's step 2. You need people to show up. But guess what? Once you have a venue, once you have people excited to come, the speakers, they will line up because they want to share their story. None of the speakers today or last year got paid. All right? I'm not getting paid for this. All right? But we want to share our story. And if they make money through coaching or through their courses or books later on because you want to learn more from them, amazing. And I highly encourage that. But even before then, none of them have asked you for any money to give all this value. And it's because they want to share their story, they want to inspire, they want to get their message out there. So with these 3 things, you can start a retreat, you can start a conference. Everything else, even the filming, even the coffee, you don't need any of that. This is not so complicated. In fact, the very first summit, I started in 10 days. And if you listen to the previous podcast episode, just look for it on Travel Like a Boss, I talked to my co-organizer about how we started an entire conference with 150 people in 10 days, and how that turned into this event that has over 200 people. Now, some of you might be thinking, you know what, I don't want to start a conference, I don't want to do a retreat, I want to do a brick and mortar business, I want to do a restaurant. All right, so did my friend Sonic, John Ban. He said to me, Johnny, I want to start a restaurant. I'm thinking about opening up a Mexican restaurant back in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I'm from. And I said to him, that's a terrible idea, don't do that. But he was so adamant about it that I was like, okay, if you're going to do it, test it. Test with the MVP first. Test the location, test the food. See if anyone even wants to buy any of your product. Are they even going to buy one taco? Is there enough foot traffic? The people that walk by, are they hungry? Is there parking spaces? These are all things you can test pretty much for free. Maybe a couple $100. If you wanted to lease a space for a restaurant, you might be signing a 2 to 5 year lease. You might be spending $100,000 buying kitchen supplies, hiring staff, building up a restaurant. But I said, why don't you go through this entire process, but right before you sign the lease, just test the location, test the concept. Put a food cart right in front of it. Do a pop-up. Just see, is anyone going to walk by? And if they walk by, are they going to buy something? So he ran with this concept, and he started the very first food truck ever in Indiana. Which now sounds insane because they are so popular now. But 5 years ago, there was no food truck scene in Indiana. And he ended up selling this business for, $50,000 just from starting with this MVP. Now, what if you want to sell products? You're like, I know starting a restaurant is probably not a good idea. I don't want to do a conference. I want to sell a product. There are ways where you can sell products without spending a ton of money on inventory first. You can private label another product. In Sam's last speech, he private labeled e-cigarettes that are already being manufactured and already being made. So he didn't have to spend all this money and time creating something. He started with a private label product. My first business that ever made me money, and it's still one of my big income streams now, is with dropshipping stores. And what that is it's a way where you can sell physical products without buying any inventory. The way it works is you become a dealer for a brand that is already selling products. And whenever someone buys it, instead of you going to your warehouse and having your staff pack it and ship it out, all you do is you forward that order to your supplier, and they ship it to your customer on your behalf. The second way that you can test something, all right, this way is not going to get you rich, and this isn't even one of those real businesses, but this is a great way to test to see if anyone wants to buy this product or not. All right? So let's say you want to sell these podium stands. Instead of going out and manufacturing them, building a warehouse, or even ordering inventory, ordering a container full of inventory, or even spending the time to get a supplier and become an authorized dealer like with dropshipping, you can test it on eBay and just say, let me just put up these ads, let me put nice photos, put my spin on it, and if someone orders it, I'll just go over to Home Depot or OfficeMax.com and have them send one over. I'm not going to make any money from it because there's no wholesale discount, but I can at least test it, see if anyone wants to even buy this. Or, instead of selling it for whatever that price is, you can put your USP to it, your unique selling proposition that Stephanie talked about earlier. All right? I had a podcast interviewee a few weeks ago who sells on eBay. And he does something called dropshipping from eBay. And one of the examples that he gave on that show was he was selling Rubbermaid food containers. Everyone know what Tupperware is? All right? Not too exciting, right? I think they're $15 or something like that on Amazon or anywhere you buy Tupperware. But instead of listing it for $15 on eBay, which he knows it's probably going to sell, he's not going to make any money, it's not exciting. He decided, what if I put my spin on it, and instead of selling it as a food container, I'm going to sell it. And he got the idea because it was January and everyone has these New Year's resolutions where they're wanting to diet and get into fitness. He decided to make the title 7-Day Meal Prep Containers. Now, if you don't know what meal prepping is, one of the hardest things about staying on a diet or staying strict is not having willpower. You're hungry, you're tired, you're starving, and just I just want to grab something. That's when you end up grabbing fast food or some sugary snack or something that you shouldn't be eating. So one of the secrets that really works of getting in shape is to prepare your meals when you're not hungry. And a lot of people, they don't have time to cook all the time. So every Sunday, they will make meals for the next 5 or 7 days. Now, instead of selling 7 pieces of Tupperware for $14.99, because he was selling the true value of it, said, his marketing was something like, never cheat on a meal again, exactly 7 containers for 7 days of the week. He was selling that idea of it, and he was able to sell it for $30. So he doubled his money and was able to test the product without buying any inventory up front. So you can do this with your product, your niche, whatever you want to start selling, instead of ordering 10,000 pieces of it, hoping people are going to buy it. Just test it. Now, the last product example I want to give you is a shirt that was made right here. Well, it wasn't made here in Chiang Mai, but the idea of it and the Kickstarter was launched here in Chiang Mai. This guy named Kyle from Libertad, he had an idea. He wanted to make dress shirts made out of a really cool material called merino wool that is anti-wrinkle, anti-odor. It's a great material. And he was convinced. He was like, I know people want this. I know this is something that will sell. But instead of going out and order 10,000 pieces of it in 4 different colors and 4 different sizes, he was like, let me just test it and see if anyone wants to buy it first. We are so lucky that in this day and age, we have things like Kickstarter. All right, has anyone bought anything off of Kickstarter? I love it. I love supporting it. I love getting cool new stuff. And hopefully one day I will launch a product on there because I love the idea of it too. So how many shirts do you need to make to produce before you can launch a Kickstarter? Any guesses? One. The one he's wearing in that example. I mean, maybe he made 2 or 3, but you don't need to order 10,000 pieces before you start selling. You just need that one to make that cool video where people can pre-order. And this shirt sold over $91,000 worth of pre-orders, which he can take that check and he can easily produce that inventory plus some because he knows it sells. And that one shirt was his MVP. Do you guys see how valuable this is? The whole point of the MVP is just to make your damn sale. Just sell one freaking unit. For a restaurant or a food cart, you just want to sell a few tacos and be like, do people want to buy this? If not, I'm not going to spend $100,000 remodeling a restaurant. All right? With an event, don't worry about making a ton of money from events yet. Build up your reputation, build up the skills from it, and sell low-price tickets, or even give some away for free. So, a few of you were saying outside, they said, Johnny, you can charge 10 times the amount for this event that you did. And I know that 100%. The value that I've gotten from listening to just even the last few speakers is immense. And that's why these conferences normally cost $800 a ticket. It's because you get to meet and network with not only each other, but you get to meet and learn from really, really successful people that you normally wouldn't have access to. But it starts with selling or giving away tickets just to get people to come. And with your product, you just need to sell one freaking unit. All right? To date, with my main dropshipping store that this is a screenshot of, I make around, let's say, $3,000 to $4,000 a month in profit. But my very first month that I started it, June 2013, I made 0 sales. And I know this is a bit hard to see the numbers, so don't worry if you can't see the slides. I'll share it with all of you guys afterwards. I'll have a link to it. So in June 2013, I'm working on my store. At this time, I'm broke. I had a little bit of money saved up, and I was kind of just going through it. I knew this dropshipping thing was going to work, but I was like, it was taking 2 months, but I didn't get paid at all. I got 0 money, 0 sales from it. I'm just working on it. Working 40, 50 hours a week on it. And I still remember I think it was July 27th or something, at midnight, which is maybe 9 a.m. US time, so business hours US. I was getting ready to go to bed, and my phone goes off. And I get this notification saying, you got a new order. And I was so freaking excited, I couldn't sleep. I was in my pajamas, and I was like, I need to go fulfill this order. So I walked to Pun Space, which luckily is 24 hours for members, and I sat there and I was so nervous. I had no idea how to fulfill an order. So I called my supplier and I'm like, hey, I got an order. What do I do? And it wasn't that one order was worth so much money. I didn't make $1,000 on the order. I made $40 from that order. All right? But why was I so damn excited? It's because that first order proved to me that this concept works. It proved to me that the last 2 months of effort I had put in is turning into something. That was my MVP. If I knew if I could just sell one unit, that means people are finding my website, they are liking my products, they are checking it out, the checkout system actually works. That if one person is going to buy it, why can't 20? Why can't 100? And over the years, I've had this store now for 2.5 years. I've now sold, can't read that number, but hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of product. But it all started from one sale. And even the cooler part, and this is the second part of MVP, right? That allows you to identify your most valuable players. And again, I'll share these slides with you at the end, because I know this is hard to read. But if you take a look at the left-hand side, the 80-20 rule applies to almost every business. I'm sure everyone here has heard of the 80-20 rule, right? Right? In general, 20% of your products are going to result in 80% of your sales. And this is my store. I put a cow over the products, but these are my numbers. So if you want to go home and analyze them, if you try to figure it out, go ahead. I gave you the slides. But you can see that my top 6 products sold 90% of my revenue. And what can you do once you identify what your MVP is, what your most valuable players or your most valuable products are? You can optimize for profit. You can figure out your conversion rates, right? So when I started my store, the first couple of months, my conversion rate was about 0.5%. 0.5%, which means 1 out of 200 clicks turns into a sale. And it wasn't bad, it was profitable. But I knew if I can just increase that conversion rate a little bit, by 1% or so, I could make more money off the same amount of traffic. And for everyone who does any kind of advertising on Google or on Facebook, advertising is pretty expensive. So I started optimizing the product pages. I rewrote my About Me page. I made sales. I wanted to make more sales from the same amount of traffic. So now my conversion rate is about 2%, which means 1 out of 50 clicks buys something. If you do the math, for the exact same amount of visitors I get, I make 4 times as much money from the same amount of traffic, the same traffic sources, the same traffic costs. And I did that partially by identifying my most valuable products, my most valuable players, and focusing on maximizing those pages specifically. The other ways to maximize your profit is you can figure out how can I spend less money on acquiring new customers or on traffic. And then the last is you can start thinking, well, instead of me going through these suppliers that might only give me a 25% margin because I'm drop shipping, and the reason why they're doing it is because they're doing all the work. They're buying all the inventory up front, they're shipping it for you, they're packing it, so they don't want to give you 50%. They're like, you know what, your wholesale discount is 25%. So what can you do? You can start importing your own products and you can get your 50% margin. Or you can even stay with them and renegotiate and say, hey, I'm selling a lot of your products now. Can you move me up to a different tier? So with some of my suppliers, I started at the lowest tier, but as soon as I started selling more products, they bump me up and I get bigger and bigger discounts. Same amount of traffic, same amount of sales, you just make more money. But what does that all start with? The minimal viable product. If you don't make that first sale, none of this crap matters. So many people spend so much time researching complicated things that they don't need to know yet. Instead of just starting. If you start, that allows you to scale up bigger later. Don't worry about selling 100,000 units or $100,000 worth of product your very first year. Focus on that one product, that one first sale. Then you have the option, you can automate it, and you can turn to passive income, or at least semi-passive income. And that will allow you to create new streams of revenue. On the first of every month on my blog, johnnyfd.com, I share all my income reports. I show screenshots of how much money I made from each source the month prior. And if you go there now, you might be like, wow, he has 6 different income sources and he's making all this money. But none of that was possible. I didn't start all 6 at one time. I started one, did an MVP for it, made my first sale, scaled it up, optimized it, and then automated it. And once that was automated, that allowed me to create my second product, or write a second book, or create a second course. And with all this knowledge, then you have the choice, you have the freedom. You can decide, do I want to repeat this? Which I've done with a lot of my things. If you look at my income reports, I have 2 books. Why? It's because after I wrote the first one, I already knew how to write a book. I knew how to publish it on Kindle. I knew how to market it. I have 2 dropshipping stores because I already knew how to start a store, how to get suppliers, how to get traffic, how to optimize it. It's a lot easier to start and repeat something that you've already done than start something new. But the curse of being an entrepreneur is I get bored. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same. So, which is why I keep starting new things, is because it's exciting to me. But what allows me to start new things is having all of this automated, or at least semi-passive, so it gives me freedom. The freedom of time and the freedom of money. I am so fortunate now that I have enough money coming in semi-passively and enough in my bank account where I know I can work on a project that may or may not make money, but I can try it. I can dedicate 2 months or 3 months or even 6 months and say, let me give this a shot, and if it doesn't do well, oh well, I'm okay. But if it wasn't for everything I did, starting with that very first sale, that very first MVP, none of this would be possible. So what I want you to take away from this is, with everyone's speeches, learn from all of that, take all of that, especially the high-end stuff, put that in the back of your mind, rewatch these videos. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start with that first sale. So, as promised, I'm going to share my slides with you, and I'm also going to give you an example of when the MVP is not a good thing. So my blog, johnnyfd.com, is made on Blogger, which is a free blog. All right? No hosting, pretty much everything opposite that Brandon totally suggested. I don't own anything. I don't own the hosting. I don't have any of that stuff. And it's insane. And Stephanie's shaking her head on me right now. I have a blog that gets hundreds of thousands of visitors that makes me thousands of dollars every month, and I don't even own anything on it. Which is why I couldn't make johnnyfd.com/summit, is because I can't upload files on it, and I can't do a redirect. But I don't regret it because, to be honest, I didn't even want to spend the $9 on a domain name for the first 6 months. And if it wasn't for a buddy of mine, Kurt Makela, who beat me over the head, said you have to register the domain name, and you can't use johnnyfd.blogspot.com, I never would have spent that $10. But trust me, I don't care what it takes to get started, but don't make the mistake I did and just keep, trying to be cheap forever. Once you learn your lessons, at least when you start a new business, start on something proper. So Earnest Affiliate is my course, and that is on WordPress because now I can actually host it and I can manage it, I can do all this stuff. So if you want these slides, and you can just go to earnestaffiliate.com/summit. You probably want to write that down because nobody can spell Earnest Affiliate. Another lesson learned. You can enter your email, and right away you can download the slides. If you don't want to give me a real email, you can just put it in whatever, and you still get the slides. But the reason why I do it that way, I don't make you confirm first, is I want everyone to have access to at least this. But if you do want to hear more from me, if you want to learn more from me, if you want to continue and learn on this journey, do put in your real email, confirm it, and you'll get access to a lot of other cool stuff. So promise me that you guys will do step 3, that you guys will all take action. Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Johnny J.